Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Sistrunk, and yes, I'm reaching back out to my students. Okay, this is practice, practice, practice. Remember, we're going to run a series of these labs / packet tracers. So if you hear me say labs, I'm talking about packet tracers. And if you hear me say packet tracers, I am talking about labs. Only because we're starting out with the packet tracer application. Remember, CISCO produced this application. It is an excellent application for you to learn how to be an excellent network administrator, configuring routers and switches, of course. So let's move forward. This particular lab / packet tracer, remember, I'm keeping them the same, so don't, oh, Professor, it says packet tracer there. Calm down. Remember, I am going to initialize a switch setting. So this is the next elevation in this particular series of assignments that I'm doing. Students, pay attention. You see here in the objectives that we will be verifying the default switch settings. We will configure a basic switch configuration, let's put a banner on here, configure one. And yes, save the configuration and configure S2. Okay. So S2, which is part 5, will give us a chance to just freelance and do it on our own without following the steps. But we're going to follow through the steps first, and then we will run right into configuring ourselves. As you can see here, I threw a few things on top of the desktop. Not that I'm going to use them all, but I thought it was worthy of just playing around. So I am going to show you how to get rid of things on your desktop when you don't need them. Just come up here to this button right here that has the X, click that, and you can say yes, or you can just come here and click it again and actually put your mouse pointer on each one of these devices and they will disappear. Now, to unselect that, you have to go back to the settings to where you have your mouse pointer working, and there you go. So just remember that. I wanted to show you that because I don't think I showed you that in the first 2 labs. So we on our 3rd one. Let's move out. So in this particular configuration, as you can see, we don't have a topology here, but we're going to set it up. We want to deal with 2 particular switches. Going down here and selecting my end devices, I'm going to grab a switch. Okay, I'm gonna still mess around with the 2960s. We're gonna go ahead and grab that, and then we're gonna go ahead and grab another 2960. Okay, now just giving you a little confirmation on that. You know that CISCO may be discontinuing these 2960s, so if you don't see them out there, remember, a switch is a switch. And you just gotta consistently elevate your skills when you're working on switches. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go to my end devices and grab 2 PCs. Here go one PC, and here go the second PC right here. Bring that up there. Okay, of course I'm gonna connect them by going to get my connectors, and I'm gonna go ahead and connect it. So this is fairly simple here. Okay, so I want to go to a fast Ethernet 0 here, click here, and I am just going to go ahead and choose 1, pull that down, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same, grab a connector and connect here, and I am going to head and choose 1 here too. Okay, fast Ethernet 1. Okay, so we got those connected, but we also want to connect our switches. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the switches, and I'm going to run them both off of 2. Now, in the assignment, it may have a different configuration, but that's okay. I want to show you guys that you can just set it up the way you want. This is a packet tracer, but I'm doing this assignment as though I'm building out a lab. Now I like to come here on this button, showing you another button to fast forward so you can see all the green showing that they're connecting. Excellent. So the first thing we did was we connected all our devices. We got the devices up and running. In dealing with the scenario in this activity, you will perform basic switch configuration tasks. You will ensure access to the command line or CLI and the console ports. Configuration setup. Now, I'm going to use the console cable, even though it's just basically saying click in the switch. You can click inside the switch, go to the CLI, and then start your configuration here. That's cool. I like it. But I like to do it the old-fashioned way. I like to put a console cable in there, you know, only because in the real world, you will be actually consoling into the switch in some form or fashion. Okay, so if I click here, I can go to console, and then I can just basically open up the PC, which you will be sitting at your desk or on a PC, and then you'll just choose the terminal, just like we've been doing. But either way works. Do whatever makes you happy. I'm just showing you the old-fashioned way of constantly doing this, especially when you building this stuff out. Now, the first thing we want to do is type in enable. Now, remember, we got a section of commands we already know. I'm going to bring those commands over here so you can see those commands. These are the commands I want you to be focused on. I'm going to drop them in here just for the fun of it. First command is enable right here. But these are some commands you should already know because we worked on these commands in the last two assignments. I do not want you to forget these commands. It's important. You should know how to delete. You should also know how to show the flash. You should know how to reload, erase, startup configuration, enable, configure terminal, end, exit, show clock. And I got the example of a show clock example right here. So don't forget these commands. We building on our commands, and that's what makes you powerful when you are doing this work, configuring routers and switches. So we're going to go back here and bring up the PC, and as you can see, we went to the router. We're going to do enable. Okay, so we clicked on the enable console tab and press enter. We are actually in here, and then the next thing it wants us to do is simply go to privilege exec mode, which we did. Do not forget these commands, people. Now it wants us to show the running configuration, so let's go ahead and type that in. Show config, show run, and you're gonna see me type it in really in abbreviation, but you don't do that. You continue to type it in the long format, and I'm gonna go back to the long format because I don't want you to actually follow my bad habits. But as you can see in here, there's nothing in this configuration. Now I'm going to come up here and look at a few of these commands and see what we could use to actually have fun. I'm on the switch, so I'm gonna go ahead inside of the switch and do delete vlan.dat. And as you can see, it's saying, do you want to delete it? And I'm gonna say yes. So we deleted that. That's practicing with that. I could type in slow flash, but I'm gonna go ahead and say type in reload just to mess around. Okay, just having fun using the commands that we previously used before. So I'm reloading. That means I'm cleaning this off. If you remember from the first two lessons, you can see that that is happening. Now from time to time you're gonna have to do that. Now it wants me to go back to privilege exec mode, and I am here. So that's what I want you to do with these particular commands. Have fun erasing stuff. You have some questions here, and you know, as a student in my class, you have to answer every one of these questions. How many fast Ethernet interfaces does the switch have? So if I come back and put that show run in again, show run, then it will tell me how many it has, and you can see it right here. Of course, we know if it's this type of switch, it should be 24 with 2 extras. So you can see right there that this has 24 fast Ethernet ports, and then it asks how many Giga Ethernet interfaces, and you see the 2 there. It says what is the range of value shown in the NVRAM. So as a student, I do want you to answer every one of these questions, and you see that right there. Every one of these questions in here, because it is important that you know what are you working on when you configuring these particular devices. Okay, so let's go do some basic switch configuration. So we already inside of the switch, we are already in privilege exec mode. Now we want to do some basic configuration. So I don't have to worry about it, because I know exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and type in config T. That's configuring terminal when I type that in, and then I'm gonna change the name. So as you can see, the name is switch, right? You see switch right there, right? So I'm gonna change the name. I'm gonna say host capital S1, and that's gonna change the name. Now right here you see S1, right? I changed the name of that particular switch, and the reason we do that is because we as IT people want to name every one of our devices. And I typed in exit to exit up out of the configuration, privilege configuration mode. I came up out of there. Now we're gonna come down here and we're gonna set up secure access to the console line. So we want to go ahead and type this in. We're going to configure again, configure, going to type in line console, and we're going to put 0 there. So we're actually about to configure that line console right quick port, and then we're going to put a password on there. Now this is all we got to do to put a basic password on there. And I'm going to put the password as Professor Sistrom, you know, something simple to remember. Okay, and then I'm gonna say login, and from login I'm gonna exit. So what did I actually do? Well, if you was here to tell me, you would explain it to me in the classroom. You will. What I actually did is took the line console 0 and put a password on that. So when the person logs in, they have to use this password. So let's see if that works correctly. Okay, so I'm gonna exit out, and this time instead of typing exit, I'm gonna type in. In takes me all the way to the beginning. Then I'm gonna say exit, and here I am at the beginning, and you see the first thing that pops up is a password. So I have to get in the switch now, I have to type in a password, which I did, and I put that password as Sistrom. And then I can go here and come right back in. So I'm back in here. So when you go to a switch or a router, you will always have to have a password to get in there. Now this way we doing it, this is a password created if you actually configuring a switch and router at your desk, and we don't want nobody to corrupt the device or nobody to bother the device. We'll put a simple password on there to lock it out, because it's going to go into a production classroom. But as you can see, we wouldn't use this type of password in the industry, this way of setting up a password in the industry, because we have much better way of securing our devices. Okay, now the next time I'm gonna put a password on, it says here secure privilege mode access. So now I'm going to secure privilege mode access. So watch this. So I'm gonna go back out, I'm gonna exit again, and you're gonna see I'm here, right? So to get here, I put a password on and it secured the device, right? But I want to secure this here too. I don't want people to be able to get here and put a password in. So I'm going to enable, and I'm going to say config T. Okay. Now, once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put enable. I'm going to type this out. And I'm going to say password. This is another way, another layer of security. And I'm going to put the same password in there. Another way of securing a device. Now watch what happens. Okay, so I'm going to exit out. And as an IT person, whenever you get through with your work, you should be exiting out. So I'm going to put the first password here. And then I'm going to put, watch this, I'm going to say enable. But it's going to ask me for a password. So this is another way of making sure those bad people don't get into the devices. Do not allow them in your devices and then begin to corrupt your systems. So then I type in the same password here. Although you know in the real world we wouldn't be using the same password. And I am in. But as you can see now, you would answer a bunch of these questions. So let's back really quickly. We were able to secure the line console where a person can plug into your computer and start configuring the system. We put a password on that, and then when they got to the enable or privilege exec mode, then we were able to secure that so a person wouldn't get in there and do it. That's important for you to do. Now, it's other passwords we can put on here too. We can put on configure an encrypted password to secure access to the privilege mode. So we want to just secure. It's important. Now, the reason we're going to do this particular password, because we know that the password that we have on there is you can easily hack that password. Trust and believe me, you could. Even this password you can easily hack too. But this is just an example of how secure we want to make our devices. You see, the system will tell us how to correct ourselves, and the system will also help us make sure we do this right. So the enable secret password overrides the enable password if both are configured on the switch. You must enter the enable secret password to enter the privilege exec mode. So I took one password and made it what we call a little stronger than the other one, which pretty much you could in theory and in truth hack both of them. I mean, these are really simple passwords, but what we're doing is showing you how to do this work so you'll know. So I'm going to type this in and get in. Now when I say this, they're going to want this, and I have to type the other password in that I put in. You can't see the password, but you can see that I'm in there. Okay, so that's just something you need to play with. Play with these passwords. They're important. Make sure that you skilled up. Remember, I'm going to ask you in the classroom, hey, show me what you know. And I want you to show me that you can do these particular passwords. And I'm going to ask you to explain it to me. So you see it right here. So you should be able to explain that to me. Now, we can verify. Remember, our show commands are our troubleshooting commands, and we must verify the work that we do. So once in a while, I'm going to ask you to say show running configuration. This is the abbreviation. Now, this is when I want you to start using abbreviations. As you can see right here, it says you can abbreviate show running config by just typing show run. So now you start developing that skill set that most IT managers have, where they can go in there and abbreviate and type in commands. But don't do it until it presents it to you. Don't just jump out there. Make sure you know it before you do it. Okay, and I know some of you going to disagree with me. Professor, I want to do this now. Well, go right ahead and get jammed up. Okay, so we looking at our running config. And all we did on this particular configuration is we just named the device. That's it. It's called S1 now. Okay, so we really didn't do no real configuration on this device. Okay, so we're going to move on now And we got another password we want to introduce you: encrypt the enable and console passwords. So now we want to do an encryption to the enable and console password. Now this is important. The enable secret password was encrypted, but the enable and console password was still in plain text. Okay, so you can see this is in plain text. You see my name in there, right? Okay, so that means people can hack that, and we don't want to put plain text out there when we actually configuring a device. So we got to be careful right there. But as you can see, enable secret is encrypted right here, but enable password is not encrypted. So even though we got two passwords on there, one is encrypted, one not, of course they can hack this if they can see that. And you know, we got some devastating hackers out there who's not playing games. They serious about their trade, baby. Okay, moving right along. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and config T. Okay, and then we're gonna say secret. Now this password is gonna allow us to encrypt all these passwords that you can see. That's what this password should do. It should be encrypting all these different types of passwords. And I'm gonna do another trick to the game. I'm gonna go ahead and tab, and when you hit the tab key, it'll spell it out for me. I'm gonna hit enter, then I'm gonna hit exit. I'm gonna exit up out of it. Okay, so that takes me out of it. Now I want to say show run. Remember, we want to remember this. Now look at all the passwords in here. They are encrypted. But people, trust me, these are not safe passwords, so we do not use this in the industry, so don't go with that. But they are encrypted. You can see that now. All of the passwords that are in here are encrypted. So that's what that secret password encryption is all about. That's why we use this, to encrypt any passwords on there. Now, if someone asks me, well, Professor, what if we don't have no other way to secure it? Using any type of password or any type of encryption is great, but just know this is not something we would use in the industry because it's dangerous. This is just teaching you how to encrypt your devices, because it's important that when you are working with these devices, you should be encrypting them, making sure that they are encrypted or have passwords on there so we don't have any future problems. Now, the last thing, second to the last thing, we got one more thing after this, is we want to put in here a banner. This is most important. Now, let me tell you the short version of why we need a banner. Simply because we have unauthorized people coming on our system. And when they come on our systems, they know they do not have the authority to be there. So by that, we can take them to court and put them in jail. Okay, so let's go ahead and configure this. We're going to go ahead and configure T. By now, you're getting comfortable with these basic configurations. Okay, so I'm going to say banner. Banner lets me know that I'm finna do this. You got to put that MOTD in there. And I like to always go with ship question marks and space it out and type in whatever I'm gonna put in there. Just saying that this is a secure environment. You do not have any rights in being here. So that's just to let people know that they shouldn't be here. I'm not gonna type it all the way out, but you can see now that gives us security. And the next thing we're gonna do is hit enter. We have a banner in there, and we're gonna hit exit. So as you can see, we're walking through the steps of doing basic configuration so you can get up to par and being that high level paid network administrator. Okay, so with that being said, now that you understand that, I'm going to type in show run so I can show you what we have did so far in configuring. Now, we're configuring a switch. So we changed the name of the switch to S1 with a simple configuration. We put in all this password encrypted all of our passwords, and you learned 3 ways to go ahead and put passwords in there. And then the last thing that you did so far was to simply put a banner in there. So in here you're gonna see the banner, and that banner says to an individual, you shouldn't be in here. There's no way you shouldn't be in here. Now watch how this plays out. So let's say you're a hacker and you're about to hack this particular system. So you playing around with prison time. Let's call it what it is. The first thing it does is shows you here, this is a secure system. Now, of course, it'll be written out more. You can see it right here. You don't have authority to be in here. So as a hacker, you should stop right there. But do they stop? No, they don't stop. They do not stop. Okay, so they go further. And then they meet all these passwords. Now, this is where they get caught up. You have passwords there. You don't work for the company. What did you get them passwords for? You doing a brute force, or you doing some type of hack to get into the system, which you shouldn't be doing. So now when we catch you, you go to jail. Okay, I'm gonna do show run here. Okay, so you saw what happens there. Okay, now the next is just to say the configuration. This is also a new command that you're gonna keep. I want you to know this command gonna go with all the rest of the commands. So make sure you keep this command here. Okay, so the very last thing is we want to copy our running configuration into our startup configuration. So right now, the configuration that we've been typing into this system is a running configuration because we're configuring all these devices and stuff right now. But now we want to lock that configuration in, so that'll be the configuration that starts when it's time for the system to actually start functioning. And sometimes we'll lose power to our systems and our systems are shut down, and we want to make sure they come back up with that startup configuration. So we want to get that in there and make sure that the system has it. So we just did the basics. We configured one device over here and we made many changes to that device. You're gonna go ahead and do the second part and have them talk to each other. This is your start. Now remember, you have been issued these commands. You should know these commands because you will use them time and time again. The same commands, no different. Okay, this is Professor Sistrom, and I hope that this helped you on your journey to learning how to configure a router and switch. Okay, remember these commands, people.